We now bring you a party political broadcast on behalf of the Democratic Party of British Gibraltar.
Good evening. The news of the dockyard closure has been described as the most serious crisis Gibraltar has ever had to face. Today, after talks both here and in London, the decision to close remains unaltered. Major Bob Peliza, former Chief Minister of Gibraltar, is here with me tonight to discuss the Democratic Party of British Gibraltar's view on the situation. Good evening.
Good evening.
How do you regard the threat of the dockyard closure?
Well, I think we're just about entering the darkest hour in the history of the Gibraltarians. It is very serious. I know everybody realizes the seriousness. It's not just going to affect the people who are working in the dockyard. It will affect everybody in Gibraltar. It could have serious political consequences. However, having said all that, I feel and I have trust in the capacity of the Gibraltarian to overcome. We have overcome very difficult situations before. I think that with the help of Britain, which I'm sure will be forthcoming, we will be able to achieve what some people think at the moment is the impossible. We have achieved the impossible before, as you know, with the Nationality Act. I think that can be repeated again.
But in view of Britain's apparent determination to close a dockyard, does the DPBG accept the closure?
Of course not. We should never accept that. And we shall battle to see that it remains open. After all, it was the dockyard that brought the people of Gibraltar to Gibraltar. We are the offsprings of the dockyard, you might say. This is the first pillar of our economy, the first, and now with another one, as you know, tourism. But this is the main pillar of our economy, the thing that made the Gibraltarian, and therefore we must resist the closure by every possible means, and my party will do that. However, having said that, one has always to have a falling back position like in any other strategy. It is absurd to try and say it is not going to happen and then suddenly finding that it does happen. When you produce a plan, you work it and see that it is worked through to the end. And therefore, one must look at the present and one must look at the future. One must look at every possibility. And one must have something up our sleeve to be able to overcome, to make sure that the people of Gibraltar can remain in Gibraltar in a reasonable, enjoying a reasonable standard of living. My party will play a leading part in achieving that, and I am convinced that it can be done and it will be done, because the will, I think, is very much what makes and activates the people of Gibraltar. The idea to remain as a people, and because we are a people, we have a strength to defend our position in Gibraltar, and I'm sure that my party will play a part. What is terrible is to say that we are not going to see the closure, to believe that whatever we may do, the docket is not going to close down, then it closes and we have nothing to fall back on. That to me is suicidal, and I'm sure that our party anyway, and I'm sure most of the members in the House of Assembly, if not everybody in the House of Assembly, will make sure that we have a position to fall back so that we haven't got to commit suicide, you might say, as a community.
I remember that the DPBG carried out a massive exercise to canvass for support on the nationality bill question. This proved successful, and you played a prominent part in this campaign. Do you think a similar exercise is required now, and what are its chances of success?
Very much so, and I think the chances are very great. Luckily, the exercise has already been done, and the people who wrote to MPs have now got friends as MPs in the United Kingdom. If they start writing again to them, they will have a very good response, if not even better than before, because once they are explained what it means for Gibraltar, I'm sure the reaction will be very much in our favor. The Gibraltar group is active, as you well know. Already Pat Wall and many other friends of Gibraltar have placed an early day motion, which has been amended by other members of the House to make it even stronger. I think that about 30 or 40 MPs have already put the name to it. In fact, I've got a letter here from another MP who have written to me, John Carlyle, who's obviously put his name to that motion, who's told me to keep him informed. I spoke to John Silking, who is the spokesman for defense on the Labour Party, and immediately he said, I'll come out to Gibraltar. He wanted to come out in December, but it so happened that the Chief Minister would not be here, so he changed his date to fit in for a date when the Chief Minister would be here, and now he's coming to Gibraltar in January. I think we have lots and lots and lots of friends in Britain, particularly in both houses of Parliament, and I am absolutely convinced that we shall get full support from there. And in the same way as we did overcome the problem of nationality, I have no doubt that we shall have even a greater chance of overcoming the position of our own very existence on the rock, from which I'm sure we shall have lots of friends. What we mustn't do is do anything which can antagonize the members in the House, our friends in the United Kingdom. Of that, we have got to be very, very careful. This is why I think that any action that is taken in Gibraltar must be judged very carefully to make sure that it is not counterproductive. This is why I think that all this debating that has been going in the House of Assembly this morning is going to be extremely useful to us all.
Recently, there was a call for national unity from Peter Isola as leader of the opposition. How important do you regard this at this time of crisis?
Well, that is vital. Unity is strength, we all know that. And it is the unity that we showed over the nationality bill that brought about the success. That same unity has got to be created. This morning there was another call. I know Peter has been doing this before, but it was a definite call. And in fact, I'm very glad to see that the Chief Minister, when he amended the motion of Mr. Joe Bossano this morning, included that, bringing in all the representative bodies of Gibraltar, and very much so the trades union, who obviously have got a leading part to play in this, of which I'm sure we shall all give our support to them. And I'm sure, therefore, that this unity is absolutely vital and essential. And I hope that it will be possible to do this, because without this unity, once we start each pulling our own way, which will all that will do is bring our own destruction. And this is quite, I think, unfair to the people as a whole. Any leader of Gibraltar who, for very good reasons, because of his conviction tells him that he should act another way, I think should think very, very carefully before he goes ahead and breaks this unity, of which now I can see is beginning to build up very rapidly and very strongly. Now, therefore, I cannot emphasize strong enough the need for us to pull together, as I've always done in a crisis. This is our biggest crisis, therefore it calls for the greatest unity, ever than ever before, because nothing worse has happened to us before. The closure of the frontier brought about, if anything, over full employment, and it was easy to overcome. This one has got the opposite effect. It will bring unemployment. That is not so easy to do. Therefore, we must all think very hard, and we must all always consult with other members of the House of Assembly, with the other associations, and individuals too. I ask those individuals who may have their own views on this not to go too far with them before they ask those who are in the know and are in a position to advise them, I think, in a sober and rational way.
Well, could you sum up what you see as the way ahead for Gibraltar, and particularly on this question of national unity? How would you go about in practical terms organizing something like that?
First of all, we've got to rally around the government. As you know, I oppose the government very strongly on certain issues. The fact that I'm supporting it now shows that I am convinced that they're going around it the right way. We must support the government. It is our government. We mustn't hit the government, because in hitting the government, we are just really giving ammunition to our friends. And having said that, the House of Assembly will unite. It is united, I think. I'm sure most of the representative body, if not all of them, will respond to the call. And I think the unions, above all, have got a very leading part to play. And I'm sure they will live up to their good name.
Thank you all for listening. Good night.
That was a party political broadcast on behalf of the Democratic Party of British Gibraltar.